Hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. Let's just wait a couple more minutes to let people join. While we're waiting, let me give a quick introduction. For those of you who don't know us, we're Darrow. We're an AI lab for legal risk, and I think we can begin, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
So, welcome everyone to the webinar on human judgment and expertise within the AI shift. And we'll kind of do some self-intros. So I'm Evya, I'm co-founder and CEO with Darrow. And Reut.
Hi, I'm Reut, an organizational psychologist and leading the people department at Darrow.
Awesome. So we're going to talk about how to stay human in the AI era. And like Reut, I kind of want to put us like on the spot for how to structure the conversation. Um, I'm like I have three opinions I want to like kind of throw at you and see how you respond. My first one is that humans are still critical for any future workforce, and I'm wondering how that lands for you, given that I think there are now numerous companies that have over $1 million of revenue annually per employee, where we used to think that number was a ridiculous thing, and we're now there. And some of these companies have less than 50 employees, which is crazy again. So how do you think? Like, what do you think humans are still pivotal in the era, or do you even?
Yeah, I think thankfully yes. And there's a lot of talk about hybrid intelligence because I know like this version of our conversation is happening in a lot of boardrooms right now. And companies that are like I'm looking at companies that are winning the space and they are actually the ones investing in hybrid intelligence, human plus AI. And it's especially crucial in trust heavy industries like ours. And if you think about legal and insurance and healthcare, these are industries that they don't just deliver outputs, they deliver trust. And trust is something that a model cannot yet manufacture on its own. It has to be envisioned and verified. And there needs to be a person with a name and a license number behind this work and someone with skin in the game. So if you're asking me, like, does humans still have any value over AI? I think MIT researchers actually have a really useful framework. They call it EPOC, and mentioning the human capabilities that AI cannot yet replace as of at least 2025. They call it EPOC, 5 letters, 5 capabilities. So it's empathy, presence, opinion, creativity, and hope. And empathy, of course, it's like the emotional intelligence, like creating those real connections between people, sharing that experience. And they distinguish between emotion detection, which clearly AI can do, to like meaningful connection, which it cannot. And humans can sit with each other and I can see if you're happy, if you're sad, I can read through your body language and it could resonate within me and you can feel that it resonated with me. And this experience still makes this connection real and not performed. So that's around empathy. And the second
Can
one
I
is
can I stop you there? Like,
more.
because I'm now wondering what that really means for us, in like the legal profession. I feel empathy is really big, and a lot of times, a lawyer actually working with a client needs to understand what's the underlying issue, right? Why do they want to get this deal done so fast? What is it about them that is anxious today or angry today? And coming to that level of empathy, I think, is something that um, like are machines able to do it? I just saw recently that like there was a data leak on or maybe not a leak really, from Claude, where the Claude code was had its code basically published on GitHub, and one of the things we learned there was that the Claude was trying to understand the emotions of the user to figure out, and doing that sentiment analysis from the actual text that the user was prompting it, to understand how to respond. And that kind of makes me think, that empathy not being performative, what kind of contribution does that really have from a legal perspective? Like, what does that do to the way we service?
You can think on our legal intake team, for example. They have countless conversations with victims day in, day out, and getting their testimonies and evidence. And when it comes to like complex and sensitive situations, you want to be talking to a human. There was also like a few research, something that I read a while back about insurance companies. People trust insurance companies with collecting data with AI, but when it comes to like very sensitive, complex claims, they want to be talking to a human. They are willing to pay for them to be talking to a human because they have trust in a human. And also like this ability to be in this conversation and create this connection is just giving you more information, and I can adapt my behavior to your feelings, and I can be more successful and get a better output from this conversation.
So I want to go back to the epoch and talk about that, but I think like the main thing that maybe we're like we need to kind of empathize with is humans in the legal profession that need to be using AI, right? And actually using it in the workplace, where I think there's a ton of now really funny skits on like social media of like the CEO coming into the employees and saying like how many tokens are you using, right? And let's make that 2 billion, and you need to be using more and more. And I kind of wonder what that does to humans that are now needing to interact with machines in a very specific way. That's like it feels human-like when you read text, but really it's you're not talking to a human. What does that do to the people in an organization?
So yeah, I was at this lecture by Micha Goodman, which I really love, by the way, and he said, like every tech progress, it's like a trade-off. Technology is adding something to your life, like a specific power, but it takes something away, a specific capability that you already have. It's like the most simple example is like GPS. Like we used to have very decent orientation skills. Maybe not me specifically, but we used to have that skill as humanity. But now we don't, because we don't use it anymore and we don't practice it anymore. And we used to remember like phone numbers and birthdays, and now we don't, because we don't practice it. So what happens to humans, as we keep using AI is that we gain some capabilities, but we're losing skills. So if you want to be like extremely minded to what we're losing in this trade-off, is like first our writing skills, because we are no longer, if you think about it, we're no longer writing. We're like just editing things that someone else wrote. And it's also making us kind of lazy. And we're also losing the ability to think. There's actually like a very strong negative correlation between using AI and critical thinking. And it's really affecting young people, by the way, because like they are forming all of their habits with AI as a default. And we also see a drop in confidence, because if I'm kind of outsourcing all of my thinking process and abilities to AI, I lose trust in my own ability to do those same decisions.
Are you like are you I have my own opinion on what this really means that we need to change, but are you seeing this currently like in outside of studies? Like, are you seeing this in the workplace really? Like at
Yeah.
Darrow?
Now, like everywhere, I think you don't even need to think about cognitive skills. Let's think about a second for social skills. Okay. Now we're like, how do you create relationships? What do you need? You need to be listening to the other person. You need to have some empathy. You need to have some sensitivity. And when you talk to an LLM, you don't need it. You don't need it. And you don't even
There's
have,
a
there's no one
there's
home.
a I feel like I want to reference The Office. There's one episode where Dwight has to learn how to speak to he needs to sell to a female, and the females of the office take him on like a workshop where they teach him how to sell in the right way, and then Pam is kind of guiding him on how to listen, And she says, well, show me that you're listening. So Dwight's response is, well, that's impossible because uh, humans don't have, like other animals might have vibrating hairs on their ears that show that you're listening, but humans don't have that. We've evolved. So I can't show you that I'm listening. And then Pam says, uh-huh, uh-huh, I understand. He's like, what are you doing? I'm showing you that I'm listening. A nod goes a long way, right? Something like that. And I think something in like our social skills at the moment, and I kind of want to reference myself sometimes because sometimes you get off of a session with whatever agent you're using at the moment or whatever, like you feel like you're orchestrating the entire world and you leave and then you get up and there are real humans around you and you need to interact. And then it's rough. It
That's
actually is hard.
Yeah, because like you are the center of the LLM's world. Because oh, what a wonderful idea! Oh, this is what an amazing thought. Let me help you with that. And then you just you are the center of the LLM's world, and then you need to go and talk to normal people, and it's cringe. And you kind of realize the world does not revolve around you, and like this whole dopamine. When you talk to an LLM, like you feel like a celebrity, and that's just it's not mature. I think it's like this friction that you get when you're talking to other people. That's just helping you get like the reality. It's helping you get feedback from reality and change your behavior. Because I can see if I've hurt your feelings and I can act differently next time. And if we're just talking to LLMs and we're never experiencing that friction and we're never experiencing rejection, we can just become very like ultra fragile. And you can see it with like teenagers, like stuck to their screens all day. The interacting skills, like communication skills, are taking a hit.
I would like take us back a moment and say like the cacophony and like all of the different things that LLMs do, but I kind of want to even move outside of LLMs, and that might be a good transition to talk about what is an AI company and a frontier AI company, because I think the state of being still and meditating over like a specific thing, over like being other than like constantly reacting to what's happening in the market. I think that's like a big deal. And one of the things we see happening here at Darrow from our vantage point, we've been in this like AI age now for like 6 years. We started Darrow AI, and we built it as really an artificial intelligence company that is kind of like what they call AI native, starting out with building AI. Um, and the core, I think, we see from the vantage point now after 6 years is that a lot of companies rise and fall um, when they're trying to build something that is like on the heat of the wave. Um, and it's great to ride the wave, right? Nothing against riding waves and the Sequoia kind of like startup school idea of like the surfboard and the wave and the surfer. But I think what we're also learning at the same time is that there's a difference between a company that is trying to push the frontier of a problem or just serving what frontier companies are giving,
When
right?
you say frontier AI company, like what do you mean?
So yeah, I think the basic thing we know about AI right now is that there are a series of statistical models that we can use in order to generate language or understand language, or at least read language in a way that then generates the performance of understanding language, right? And it is very useful in some instances, but that's kind of what we know. And then the question is like, how does this affect certain areas in life? And frontier companies are trying to push the frontier of what we know, right? They're doing lots of research with what can be done with artificial intelligence, and that doesn't necessarily only touch the statistical models, but also the deterministic ones, and also like what you would call classical AI. So it is trying to understand what artificial intelligence can do. and push that boundary, push the frontier. Whereas like a regular normal like AI company, I think is basically just serving the latest research or the current research, the current understanding to people, which is doing distribution. And I think the difference between the distributors of AI and the frontier companies is material. Because one of the things that a frontier company is supposed to do is not get in like infatuated with the fads of the time, right? I think it's always like a struggle between, are you really an AI laboratory, right? Or are you building an application of AI for people? All of the AI labs that I like know right now are doing some of both. But the question is, how can you push the frontier and do real research that is of quality? And that requires some stillness and being and meditative states. Whereas, what are you doing that is just like running around and bringing the latest thing to market?
I think it's also like the main reason you still need humans in the loop, like for the ethical calls, for catching errors, for not relying on fake precedents, and even me like prepping for this webinar, like the amount of mistakes I caught was very like noticeable, and for me as like an individual, it's a small price to pay. But if like you're building your entire product on that, like a product that does not understand the reality around the data, that could be extremely dangerous. And if you don't invest in that quality into your workflows, you can very easily find yourself just lying in an email to a client or in a delivery that you send out to a client. So like in our industry, the job is built on trust, on integrity, on justice, and it's not an output you can easily generate without like those level of depth and understanding, both in the product and the talent.
Yeah, the depth of understanding, I think, also meets us in other areas. Um, the the knowledge that you're supposed to bring something of yourself. And I go back to the MIT research we referenced earlier. Uh, I think one of the things that was interesting to me there was like they gave people assignments with essays and the variability of essays that they got. So they had a control group that was just like brain only group, which is crazy to think about. Like a group that was called Search Engine, which basically had Google and could like search on Google without the AI feature, and then a group that had ChatGPT. And what they learned was that the variability of essays had a correlation with how much brain you used. When you're brain only, that's the most like variable essay outputs that they got. And ChatGPT was the lowest variability. And I think we're at the point, even with memory, which is it's kind of insane. Even with memory, we still get that result. It's still replicating. So we see people just creating essays that are not really varying one from another when they're using LLMs to write.
This is
And,
kind of how LinkedIn feels right now. Like all the posts
yeah,
are exactly the same. There's like, we're losing thought, like diversity. And it's just, and then you lose trust because like you don't really believe that a human being wrote that post or this article or this book or this essay. And
yeah,
everything.
and that brings me to the mission, I guess, for Darrow, which we always wanted to talk about the trust piece. Um, I think one of the bigger problems we currently have is that our systems are experiencing erosion of trust. They're experiencing some form of erosion of trust. Because if we looked at 30 years ago, 40 years ago, people had, I guess, better trust or greater trust in most of the institutions we have, starting from like politicians all the way to the court system, and even the market and the economy. People had more trust, this is measured. And what we're seeing right now is that because AI is kind of like getting into all of the corners. People are feeling different. So my question may be like, if I can phrase it as someone who's really on the ground and seeing how people like even apply to a job, like what do you do when you get applications that are all based on whatever AI thought you want in your resume?
No, I think that I would never hire someone to Darrow without meeting them face to face. Like I would not like only trust the AI evaluation. And I think like most people would not even hire like not like a babysitting for their kids, like without meeting them. And I'm trying to think with myself, like why? Like those are very like intelligent models. Like why don't I like what is this extra trust that we still only hold for humanity? But if you agree with that sentence, so that thing like this extra, this is what your product needs to protect. And that's the human in the loop. And I'm everybody's using AI, even like for the assignments, and I'm expecting them to use AI in the assignments. But later on, when we do like the debriefing, I want to see their thinking process, and it's so easy to differentiate between like the copy and paste control group and the others. And again, like it's going back to those essential skills in this era, which is like continuous learning and adapting to change. And those people are more easily navigating themselves through like the different needs of this time. And I think we see it and in the hiring landscape now, like like this entire AI revolution, we do not see a massive effect on unemployment, like not in the US and not in Israel, but we do see a massive effect on how we change hiring. So it's not like this, like the layoff bloodbath. It's more like the door is quietly closing on juniors. So teams are not growing as they used to be, and companies are raising the bar of who gets in, which is kind of sad to think about it, because like having like a layer of like junior people in a company, it's not just about like them doing the like more, I don't know, repetitive, tedious task at the beginning of the career. Like this is how companies used to give back and like train the next group of leaders. And I'm thinking, okay, like 5 years from now, where would those next group of leaders be coming from if no one is willing to get them and train them? So yeah.
Yeah, I think that is appearing a lot in the law firms we work with, as like more agentic capabilities come out. Law firms are kind of asking themselves, well, if I have a long horizon M&A agent that can run the entire deal, I probably need less associates. And then you get less associates that have been on deals. And with less of them, the question is like, who will lead the firm in the future? And I know that a lot of people are saying, well, agents will solve that. Gil, our CTO, always says that machines are ships, but they can't be captains. And like a good captain is someone who knows where we need to go. And the reason that it's critical is because if you're like going to send a ship out to sea and you send it without a captain, you're basically it might come back, it might find a whale, it might do whatever you want, but it also might do something completely different. And I think the goal is to understand what is the ship, right? It might be that like M&A transactions are not like anything of concern. You can just let someone do them. But I think what we're learning is that risk and exposure is kind of everywhere. And if you don't have the right agency, and that requires also human agency to say, I don't want this ship to be captainless, so I have to do my work as a captain better. We see this in like all of the normal human roles that we have at Darrow, but I think also in one of the emerging like exposures that we're seeing right now, which is disparate impact in hiring, right? Where AI is really impacting the way companies are hiring. And you're asking yourself, well, where's the captain of that ship that is deciding to like reduce a lot of people from their pipeline because something AI is telling them, right? But those people tend to be of a certain race. Where is the captain of the ship?
This is something that a lot of companies are like overseeing at the moment because like there's a lot of pressure, enormous pressure to like cut cost and chase efficiency and
Hmm.
we get it and we feel it. But like I want to put another question on top of it is like how are you investing in those people that stay? Are you helping them grow alongside this transition and making them more valuable to your, like next to your AI agents? Or are you just letting them go numb? Because if your entire team will outsource their agency and their thinking process, like this is a company with nothing to offer. It's not a hybrid intelligence anymore. It's just like AI. So companies should be investing in the people that stay. They should like, if you have a vision of how your team will grow, and again, I'm going to mention the legal intake team because they're such a, like, I am not objective, but they are the best. But alongside them, like always automating whatever they can from their workflow and redesigning their works with bots, they are also investing in their people. Like can they facilitate sensitive calls and they are showing them like the vision. This is how we envision your role would look like in the future. And I am preparing you for that today. Like both like Tamir and Alison leading this team are also like investing in the people, investing in the workflows, doing that together, sharing their vision with the team. And that kind of creates clarity. And it's super important because everyone on your team, everyone is afraid that he's going to be get redundant soon enough.
Yeah.
So like you need to share that vision with them, like how their role would look like and just give
Yeah.
clarity, just be transparent.
I also see this like I think from another perspective, going back to LinkedIn being just like AI right now, a feed of what AI has to say to you about the world, and authored by your favorite people. Like I feel like there's another thing happening in hiring as well, and we're kind of seeing that up close. A lot of like executive hiring decisions that we're witnessing are kind of like, what would you expect the person that we hire for this role to be? You, dear market, let us hire that person. And I feel like that's doing the opposite of what you just said about like the developing the humans. It's rather about like, well, there's someone that has all of the qualification the markets wants us to see as the right thing to put in, right? Because that's what AI said. And that's what AI is saying on the earnings calls. And that's what it's, so let's just bring in a person like that. And like basically that will be the AI poster child for whatever role we need. But I think what we need to be doing is like making the human in the loop our competitive advantage, right? Like becoming to the point where if AI is like commoditized completely, like what are you going to do to make humans at the center of what you're doing, like the the beating heart of the system that you're building, whatever it is. And I think that's where we want to like the purpose of Darrow was originally we wanted to build a company that would help people become the authors of their own life story, right? And
Yeah.
the ideal of authorship, the ideal of autonomy. And I feel like what is happening right now is that we're so obsessed with making agents autonomous that we're making them autonomous and take our autonomy from us. So going back to the hiring decisions, I'm like, I don't care what the AI told me the job description should be, and I don't care what they think the best resume is. What I really care is about the person I'm going to talk to, the person I'm going to work with, the person that is going to be a captain of one of the ships in our fleet, right? And we want that person to be a worthy captain, and it doesn't happen from just like their resume or their credentials. It needs to be someone that we train and work closely with, and only then are they ready for that flashy announcement out there, saying like, yeah, this is our guy, whatever, this is our gal.
Yeah, those people need to be able to pause before they do a prompt. They need to like be the one training the model and not letting the model train them. And I think like that pause between you getting a task and like immediately rushing to Claude to have it do it for you A to Z. Like first, like think first, attempt first, and do it just the other way around, and like think what you want to say in that situation. How would you address that problem? And like that pause between the prompt and the like the mission, the task that you were given, that's where humanity lays. Like this is our advantage, and this is something that we need to capture for us to like keep using our skills so that we would have something to contribute to the hybrid intelligence.
Yeah, I think like the continuing to develop yourself is becoming hard because you mentioned the AI tutor earlier. Like the tutor is becoming AI, and learning is becoming like go on ChatGPT or Claude or whatever platform you're using. Uh, and a lot of people are kind of like, well, if the AI is in everything, then how do I do something that is only like from myself? And I think it's going back to a lot of basics about how to learn, right? And part of the thing we're doing at Darrow right now is kind of like getting people back to the understanding that if this is degrading your cognitive abilities, you should be focusing more on how to improve your cognitive abilities, and you can't do that with AI. It's just not going to happen.
It's like a gym for your cognitive skills. Like if before technology replaced our muscles, but we realized that for us to stay healthy, we need to activate our body and we go to the gym. Now we would need to have like a similar gym to still practice our thinking skills, our writing skills, our strategic thinking skills. Um, so yeah.
But the concern for me is like with like maybe I just like CrossFit, right? So maybe the problem is that like when you think about training, right? If you go to the gym, there's something about it that is almost performative, right? You're keeping the muscle because you need to show something or you need to maintain health. You're not doing it for the reason because you don't need it anymore, right? We've evolved beyond bodies, but we haven't, right? If you don't work out, I have a young, like 6 months old daughter. If I don't work out, I can't hold her and have my arms not like sore at the end of the day, right? So it's like a practical need, and I think what's happening in the mindfulness gym that we're kind of building at Darrow is like you're not doing this because you need to practice a skill. You're doing this because without that skill, you are not the human in the loop. You're just another cog in the machine,
Yeah.
and you're being paid a salary that is far more than the tokens you get, right? It's far larger than that. You should be much more than those tokens. So you're not a cog, and you're definitely not a conduit. You know, you're not just passing a message from one person to your AI to then send back to that person. Like, if you're writing emails with AI, it's because I'm assuming that you're doing something really unique in the way that you're sending those emails. But because otherwise the email is just a form of communication. If it's not you communicating with the person on the other end, it's just an AI sending emails for you. What is that for? Yeah, I think that's where we're kind of like struggling with the understanding of what AI is supposed to be doing and what humans are supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I agree. And like I think that like the bottom line of it is that in our industry, it's irreplaceable at the time being. I could be wrong in like 2 years or 3 years, but like at the time being, it's just there's no replacement to like being present, having a good understanding, being empathetic, being able to create relationships in the reality, to provide trust. Um, and it's not just like it's not just the business justification of it. It's also, I see it as like a moral commitment to our people because no one else is regulating it. It's like it's up to the companies to decide how they want to steer this world around. Like, do we want to steer it towards just like I don't know, laying off half of our people, and just the other half would manage agents, and we would retire and go to Tuscany. It's like, is if you want to go to that direction, so you need to steer to that direction. And if not, so you need to invest in your people.
Yeah, and I like, not that I have anything against Tuscany, but I think us as a group of people that are trying to do something, whatever company you're leading, there's a value to your work. And if you see that AI is going to enable you to amplify the value, that's awesome. But that doesn't rid you of understanding what the value is that you're generating and making sure that you do the steering of the ship. You're the captain. And yeah, that, I guess that comes back to like, no one's going to regulate it for you. You write the story here.
Yeah,
So
you're the
write a good one.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you everyone for listening. We hope
Thank
you
you.
found some of our ramblings interesting. And if you're interested to work with us, whether on the people issues that we discussed or on legal exposure management, whether you're a law firm or a compliance team or an insurer, please just get in touch with us. We're at contact@darrow.ai, or reach like any one of us directly. Our emails are out there. Looking forward.
Same. Thank you, everybody.